So this poem is by Edna St. Vincent Millay. And again, realizing some things as I start these recordings, I don't really know if this is a sonnet sequence or just one that stands alone. But the first four we looked at in class together when we first started going through these were the ones that spoke directly to the Petrarchan woman and the whole tradition of sonneteering. Now I'm moving into poems that don't necessarily do that. So the sonnet form is picked up, and now all kinds of people do all kinds of things with it. If you look at the rhyme scheme on your notes from your scavenger hunt, you'll notice that this has the ABBA, ABBA, or excuse me, it has ABBA, ABBA, so I was right, ABBA, ABBA. And then she drops the EE and just does CD, CD, CD. And I know plain and again is a slant rhyme, but plain, so we're still going to count it as the same sound. So this one is a little bit risque for a woman of Edna St. Vincent Millay's day, because it's talking about physical attraction, and it's talking about someone trying to seduce her. So this is an apostrophe to some guy who is standing close by, trying to use his physical proximity to get a reaction from her. So I'll try to be delicate as I talk about these things, but essentially, someone's trying to seduce her, and she's trying to figure out, am I falling for this or not? So I, being born a woman, am distressed by all the needs and notions of my kind. And so this speaks to that idea that women have their own needs, and it's things that belong specifically to them, right? So that makes sense to us. But she says, I am urged by your propinquity, which is a fancy word for proximity, to find your person fair. So you're close by, your proximity to me, you're using that, trying to get me to realize how handsome you are. And you want me to feel a certain zest to bear your body's weight upon my breast. And I believe that that is literal. So she says you're using your physical proximity to try to convince me, your physical attraction, to try to convince me to have at it, right? To be, I guess, not delicate, but whatever. So subtly is the fume of life designed to clarify the pulse and cloud the mind. So this is an interesting line. It's attached to that colon, right? Your physical proximity gets the fume of life going. And I think of that physical attraction, or in our scientific term, we use pheromones, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but like apparently physical attraction, there are chemicals in the air that bring you together. And she doesn't know this, but I think what's interesting is that she recognizes there's some sort of weird, something's in the air that's pulling her into this attraction. And she says to clarify the pulse and cloud the mind. So you would think she'd be trying to clarify her mind, but what she's saying, he must be somewhat attractive because it makes her pulse race. And you know how it feels when your heart beats very clearly? I think that's what that's talking about, that hard, heavy pulse beat. And because he's attractive and because he's standing so close, it clouds the mind, right? So she says, you're asking me to bear your body's weight upon my breast, and I feel this attraction to you. But here's the key line. So subtly is this fume of life designed to clarify the pulse and cloud the mind, but it leaves me once again undone, possessed. And I think this is one of these shaded connotations here. Possessed has that definite connotation of sexual conquest, like if he manages to win her over to his cause, he will possess her physically. And I think what's interesting here is undone, again, trying to be delicate here, it has that idea of, being open physically. I'm undone, I'm undressed, if you will, in front of him. But I think undone also has this notion of being somewhat destroyed. Like, this has the propensity to undo me as a person because it seems here like I may not be comfortable being possessed by you. I don't like that idea of conquest, right? So she says I'm definitely attracted and my mind is clouded, but I think this is the key line here. This fume of life is designed to leave me undone and possessed, but yet I think that's also why she's resisting it. So she says to him, think not for this, however, the poor treason of my stout blood against my staggering brain. Don't think I will remember you for the attraction, despite my blood being up and my brain sort of staggering with this. I shall remember you love, or season my scorn with pity. So I think she's saying there's nothing really in you to make me love you or scorn you. But in other words, or maybe she's saying, I'm not sure if I'm going to remember you with love or scorn. But let me make this plain to you. This attraction, this frenzy, this hormonal imbalance is insufficient reason for conversation when we meet again. So I think the thing that she's saying is, look, whether I sleep with you or not, you're somewhat unremarkable. And we won't be talking about this when we meet again. So it's just a very interesting poem in that regard. I think that because this is an Italian sonnet, you could break it into the octet here and talk about this physical proximity and what she means by this attraction, right? You want to get into some of these shadings here. But then the conclude, here's my problem. I find you attractive physically. I am tempted by this. I find that my mind is clouded and my pulse is racing. But at the same time, I feel like my physical body is betraying my brain, right? And I'm not sure if I'll remember your love or pity, but either way, you're really kind of unremarkable. So that's sort of it's an interesting poem by a woman at a time frame when I don't think these things were talked about as openly, particularly for women.